Thank you very much indeed. A very good morning to you. It's wonderful to see you all here, and thank you, sir, for your introductory speech, which I would like to drill down on just a little bit, given we have about 10 minutes of time. How are you, sir?
Very well, Becky, thank you.
Good. All the better for seeing this specific room of investors, informed, enlightened, and encouraged businessmen and women, I'm sure. Thank you for your time this morning. The goal here is very simple: to leverage technological innovation and flexible regulation to make the UAE a leader in what is a new emerging economic model. We've heard your words this morning. Earlier this year, you said the UAE is aiming to grow its economy by 7% a year as it looks to double its GDP by 2030 to 800 billion. That is hugely ambitious. You've also talked about this morning the backdrop of a major sort of geopolitical fractures in the world. You've highlighted both a slowdown in global growth, the current oil price dynamics, and the slowdown in, very specifically, China growth as risks to both global and local economic growth. So let's start there.
First of all, thank you so much, Becky. Good to see you again. It's been a few years since last we met, but there's a lot of progress that's really happened. I think 7%, yes, that's an ambition. That's an aim. We're in aim, so we aim in investment. But we did 7.2% just a few years ago. Now, non-oil growth have done an average 6.6% growth for the UAE in the last 3 years. It is projected that the non-oil growth is going to be above 5% for the gradual next couple of years. Yes, there are huge investments. I spoke of a couple of them, new growth, such as green growth, circularity, and many others. But I think we cannot do it without the members of this room. 7% is not on the government. 7% is on the private sector. We've done as much as we do to really create an ecosystem for everyone in the room to really invest and really grow. And we understood from the second day that any investment strategy needs talent, and the talent is the most important aspect. So Golden Visas was hugely and heavily invested in and attracting talent. We are behind the US in AI talent attraction here in the UAE, and we're really looking at AI growth as a non-oil sector that is really growing steadily and across the region as well. But the most important aspect is for everybody here in the room, 7% is not on me. That's my aim. But I think it's 7% on every investor here that the UAE wants to grow, and you only, the guys, can help me in achieving that.
Non-oil growth of 7% every year until 2030, or?
Are you amending it, Becky?
Let me just quickly drill down. Let's just do 60 seconds on this. How do you cushion the shock of a slowdown in China and the current oil price dynamics? Where do you see, what are the biggest challenges, and what are you doing to ensure that this is a resilient economy that can deal with both of those?
Yeah, I think China slowdown, or the new China growth, let's say, keep it that way, it's not going to go away for many years to come. I think it's going to stay a 4 to 5% for the next decade or so. So let's get to the new norm, right? This is going to be normal, and this is going to be the new growth. So what we do is, in the UAE in the last 3 years, we have amended more than 40 legislation here on the economic level, try to adapt to how to make the economy very agile, invest into new sectors, attract new investment into new areas, and open new markets. When I speak to investors, I always say that UAE doesn't offer the 10 million population. We offer 300 million population of the MENA region. The availability of our logistics from the biggest infrastructures in airline or seaports into the investment of talent and talent attraction positions the UAE today where it actually offers the biggest market than just 10 million. And that's what we've seen. We've seen an increase in company license registration. If you can imagine, Becky, 3 years ago, we had 600,000 plus or minus company registered in our registrars. Today, we are about 1.4 million. 3 years, there was a jump of 500,000 each, which reached where we are today. We targeted 1 million company back 3 years ago to reach it by 2031. We're in 24, and we reached 1.4 million. Now, there's, of course, active, non-active, but it's way beyond a million kind of target. Now, we're looking at when we are going to reach 2 million company license and registration here in the UAE. And that's something gives the growth of the UAE. What we've done is right. And there's a lot of investment coming in.
And there's a lot of talk about how progressive this economy is here now. It's agility, it's flexibility with regard regulation and the like. And I want to talk very specifically about that and AI and advanced technologies, because I know that new technologies and very specifically AI are going to play a key role in driving economic impact here. Just before I do that, what you didn't mention when you talked about sort of risks to global and local growth were the US election, the ongoing widening regional conflict here, or potentially widening regional conflict here, high levels of public and private debt around the world. You're not including those in the sort of all of above when you think about this wider risk to local and global growth going forward. Why?
The region has been in geopolitical conflicts for the last 1,000 years, right? It's not new. And therefore, today our leadership, when they look at it, is we look at economy and open diplomacy and dialogue. This is the kind of the heart and the values of the things that we do. And we've been in the G20, we've been in the BRICS, we've been everywhere. And our foreign policy engines are working always to find peace. We've been negotiating 6 hostages and prisoners between Russia and Ukraine for the last years. And I think that shows as well the UAE and its work on the peace level, bringing the geopolitical conflicts down. I think with that said, UAE positioned itself as economic driver. We want peace and we want to push economy as an engine to moving forward. Now with the geopolitical tensions, we're still always going to be there and we need to adapt every 3 months. We used to expect a black swan once every 3 years. Now we see it once every 3 months. And that's something which will always keep on going and being. And I think the adaptability in our system, in our agility, any investor today can knock the door to any minister and say, I have a problem with the law. I have a problem with the legislation and I want to challenge it. It doesn't help me grow. If you want the 7%, can we amend this or can we amend that? And that's the kind of openness that UAE's government always offers investors to really bring forward. My office is always open. I have always discussion with legal firms saying, can we amend the law and the legislation? We kind of, push and pull. But in the end of the day, we do what's really for the economy, and both there's a win-win situation always.
Does your 7% benefit more from a Donald Trump presidency or a Kamala Harris presidency?
I think well, it benefits from the people in the room.
You're not going to answer that question.
Well,
Go on.
Right, let's give it a try. Right. I think we've seen 4 years of Trump and we've seen 4 years of Biden. The UAE is adaptive to both kind of presidency, and that's where we're always at. We have this kind of adaptability. I don't know who's going to win. It's a tight call. But whoever wins, I think UAE has always been working closely with the United States. United States' first trading partner with the UAE, with the Gulf actually, is UAE. We're always going to be there. We're always going to push American companies. Trade between us are increasing over $40 billion. That's not going to stop. The US and the UAE is a strategic partners, and it's always going to be that way. And we've seen His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed visit just a month ago, really strengthen that kind of relationship and always be that kind of support. So in the end of the day, it's the kind of relationship that goes many, many years, decades of relationship between the UAE and the US, and that's always going to be at the heart.
If you knew who was going to win, that would be a headline, by the way, today. It might actually worry quite a lot of people in this room. Thank you for that. I want to talk about 2 other things, and we are absolutely running out of time. I knew we would here. But 2 things here. New technologies, and very specifically AI, going to play, to your mind, a key role in driving economic growth here. And look, I live here. I've been here for 10 years. I can see it in my daily life. I see it every single day. The investment in deployment and delivery of AI across industries is absolutely remarkable here. PwC has put a figure on the economic impact here. In relative terms, the UAE, it says, sees the impact of AI, very specifically, as close to 14% of GDP by 2030. Can you be a little bit more specific about what that looks like in terms of opportunities, and particularly in terms of talent? You've already noted that incoming AI talent here, to your mind, is second only to the US at present. But let's just very specifically talk about the opportunities that 14% of GDP by 2030 might provide.
I think when we talk about in any economy, we look at the public procurement or government procurement. Government procurement is a huge budget in any economy. It really invests into infrastructure, schools, universities, hospitals, housing, so many things. But when you see the UAE, we have invested heavily as well on our digital infrastructure, specifically AI. We have launched policies on AI procuring. If you walk down the government digital platform in GITEX last week, you've seen federal, local government, each and every booth has AI technology in. Today, when we request a digital solution in our digital department in the ministry, AI is a core aspect of it, and that's only will come through the private sector who can provide these solutions. So UAE is on AI powered on government level, means that the private sector is going to be, always we know that the government is faster than private sector here in the UAE. And our government is really focusing on it. The technology that we're using, specifically in the Ministry of Economy, for instance, we have the national growth registrar system. It's AI powered. We have technologies that now being tested on it. And that's something which will create a lot of data, will help investors as well to look at, if I want to invest in the UAE, you go into the registrar, you can understand what type of investments that we are looking for. If you're looking for kind of marketplace or competition, who's the biggest players and what are the market size. This is where the system solution can help investors make better decisions and amend their business models forward. That's what we launched last week. And this shows that there's a lot of AI compatibility with it. Now, with that said, government on the federal level, local level, on their digital platform, they're pushing heavily on AI procuring. There's always an AI procurement now and then every week from government. That shows that there's a huge push on that budget as well coming forward.
Lastly, you talked about another major tool at your disposal, which has been the use of these comprehensive economic partnership agreements, or CEPAs. I don't think they'd be unfamiliar to anybody in this room. You also talked about the near $1 trillion US UAE partnership at present. So you can see these sort of competitive but comprehensive partnerships are clearly absolutely key as far as priorities are concerned to the success of the visions and growth trajectories here. What are the sectors very specifically that benefit the most from these CEPAs? And how are these CEPAs with various countries helping cement the UAE as this sort of nexus for north, south, east, west? Because for the benefit of this audience, I think, who may be less familiar with the impact that these CEPAs are having, I think it would be interesting to just get your view.
So one CEPA doesn't really benefit both nations. It is the multi-latitude of these CEPAs, so 26, 25, and when you see the countries globally, the amount of free trade agreements, when it's really flourished, is more than 25 agreements. And the reason is, today, when you look at these, to enact these agreements, you need to take a product from country A to country B, add value to it, 25, 30%, depends on the agreement, and then becomes made of that country B, and then you can trade it to another country C, and add value there. And then, therefore, the whole map engineering of trade, it looks to re-engineering the kind of the world where, micro factories will start moving, understanding that, okay, I can send something from this country over to this country, add value, but it's not for this market, it's for another market. It goes there and add another value to it, and it becomes 100%, and that's access marketability to the old products. So what we did is we created websites. You can go onto UAE, India SEPA, for instance, and traders and manufacturers understand that there is HS code. So you put the HS code they're looking for, it will tell you how much actually trade barriers is being removed. India is very complicated. They're going to remove the trade barriers over 7 years, some 5 years, 6 years, and therefore we have, showing that trade barriers removal over. So it needs a re-engineering kind of look at where I'm going to put the new factories, not big ones, macro, that will actually push manufacturing into entering new markets. And that goes to the point I'm saying UAE doesn't offer 10 million, we offer 300 million and more. That accessibility as well is important for traders. Now, the UAE CEPAS is not just trading goods. UAE is known for services. So we are negotiating very hard on our trade and services chapter. Important aspects from it is telecom, hospitality, financial services. There's a lot of that into the negotiation chapter of trade and services that opens up. There is some CEPAs, if not all knows that actually we have managed to negotiate aspects of the CEPAs to enter in government procurements in these countries. That they can use actually UAE company in government procurement. And I go back to government procurement, it is one of the highest in a budget in any country and any economy. There's a lot of dependability on that. So CEPAs really open doors for companies here in the UAE or for companies in any country to enter government procurement as well as the services. So there's a lot of trade and services aspect. Everybody thinks of CEPA as a trade in goods, but actually it's a trade and services that's really pushed forward as well.
You've been doing this job for 3 years. You took it on
4 years, 4 months.
4 years, 4 months. You and I did our first interview about 3.5 years ago. So you came in the middle of COVID or just before.
Just after, it's 3 months into COVID.
Yeah.
So July 2020.
Not easy. We are in the third quarter of 2024 now. During that 4.5 years, there must have been things that kept you awake at night. And I can only imagine back in the day, as it were, 4 years ago, much of that would have been COVID. What keeps you awake at night today, finally?
Other than my 7-year-old son. But I think perma-pandemics. More pandemics to come in. We forgot what COVID-19 have really shown its strength in any economy. It's devastating. We remember the days when hotels were shut down, airports were shut down, lockdown on people. So what happens if there's another pandemic and becomes a perma one? So the new terminology is perma-pandemics. So we get this kind of things that's really happens. I don't want to go back to lockdowns again. I don't want to be part of that trenches again. Yes, we know how to deal with it. At that time, 4 years and 4 months ago, we didn't have any guidelines of how to handle pandemics and crises such as these. But today, UAE shown the world how we actually handle this. So we don't want to go back there. That's not something we want to be in. But that's something that keeps me up at night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.